Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to my relationship recap of Taylor and Brandon from season 10 of Married at First Sight. I know you guys are really like, oh my god, Wahima, you're watching Married at First Sight. We had no idea. Well, if you followed me on Instagram, you would absolutely know that I'm watching Married at First Sight. So in this video, I'm going to be just giving you a rundown of where we are with Taylor and Brandon and their relationship thus far in the season. And yeah, I'll come back probably at the end and talk more about them or more about this series as a whole. Married at First Sight airs on Lifetime, and it is a relationship show. The premise of Married at First Sight is exactly what it sounds like. Matchmakers set up singles to be in a marriage with somebody that they see at the altar. Let's jump into Taylor and Brandon. Taylor is some kind of doctor or scientist or something, like she works in the medical field. Then we have Brandon, and Brandon is a beer salesman. So basically he works for a brand and he goes to different bars trying to sell that beer. Also, Taylor does on the side is kind of whiskey sales. So she's kind of does a lot of things because she has a lot of bills to pay for being in medical school. And so they were matched together by Dr. Cal, Dr. Pepper, and Dr. Viviana. Taylor says that she's a smart girl and she's looking for somebody who's as smart as she is, but likes to have fun and likes to go out. She's surrounded by a lot of nerds all the time, and so she wants somebody with more personality. Brandon is the same type of guy. He says that he always goes out by himself. He loves to have a good time. He's a party guy, but he's ready to settle down and find a mate. So in this show, the first 2 episodes is basically them telling their families that they got chosen for the show and then getting the varied responses from their families. And in this case, Brandon's grandmother is not down with it. Brandon's grandmother is fabulous, by the way, but she's not down with this, but his mother says that she's just going to let Brandon do what he wants to do because he's an adult. He's allowed to make his own choices. Taylor, on the other hand, whose mother is a little skeptical, but at the end of the day, she's going to support her daughter through this process. So Brandon and Taylor, as all the couples, meet each other at the altar. They look great. They take pictures afterwards, which usually is an awkward moment for the bride and groom. They go through the whole wedding ceremony. They go through the whole after party. There's a party, there's food, there's people forcing them to kiss, there's the mother-daughter dance, the father-daughter dance, the whatever dance, first dance. There's all these key things that the audience wants to see and that the professionals feel like are a quintessential part of a wedding to make the recipients or make the people who are in it really feel like they're actually married to that person. Because I think when you're not married and then all of a sudden you are married to a stranger, it's very jarring. So they put them through certain things that help to solidify the contestants' understanding of what they've gotten themselves into. The second part of this experiment is them going on a tropical vacation together for about 5 to 7 days. And this is usually where the couples all meet each other in some country. And in this case, for this season, it's Panama. So they're in Panama, and they're all staying at the same resort, and the ladies will get together and have conversation, and the men will get together and have conversation that is less intuitive and deep diving as the women's conversation, but it's still there so that they feel like they have a sense of community and they're not just off on an island or in a tropical area just with this stranger that they've never met in their entire life. So I think that that component of the show is actually really good. The third part of this is that they go and they live together in an apartment in a neutral space that neither of them own, and it's set up by production. So Taylor and Brandon, their wedding goes really well. Their family gets along. Taylor speaks to Brandon's mother. It's a good time. The mother, says who her son is. She speaks to the grandmother, and Brandon does the same thing to her family. And it seems really like, a sweet moment. I was a little annoyed with the cake in the face situation. And I think that Taylor was putting up with a lot of weird behavior from Brandon from the beginning. But again, she's ready to be married and is more fun loving than I am because girl, cake on my face? No. So they go to Panama, and while they're there, it's a little rocky in the beginning because Brandon is having a hard time with production. He doesn't like to be told when to do stuff, when to be ready, when to not be ready. And it doesn't seem like he's doing his best to be there for his spouse. At some point, Taylor, who loves social media, brings out her phone and does a video of Brandon while she's sleeping next to him. And she's like, oh, look at him. Isn't he so cute? And I guess he's snoring a little bit. And she's like, oh, that's so cute. And he wakes up and sees the camera, above him, and immediately jumps out of the bed and is pissed off for the rest of the day. Taylor doesn't know what she's done to upset him, but she's trying to bring him back, to get him to talk to her, and he refuses. He's, to me, behaving like a petulant child. It feels like from the very beginning, Brandon doesn't understand what the whole process of this journey is. It's almost like he's never watched any seasons of Married at First Sight, because I feel like if you've watched the seasons, you understand that the importance of communication is paramount, especially in the beginning. I get that there's a lot going on, and maybe it's something that I don't understand, but they sign a contract saying that they could have up to 10 hours a day of filming. And I guess he just hates it so much that when his wife had a camera in his face, it just felt like a huge breach of his privacy. And so she spends the rest of the day trying to figure out what's wrong with him. He's telling her that he's fine, or he's just not talking to her at all while she's trying to communicate to him while they're getting dressed. And she just doesn't know what to do. So he then realizes at some point that he's messed up. And so he spends the rest of the time in Panama trying to make it up to her. However, there's still that kind of feeling, I think, for her. And she's really unable to bounce back from that. But I think from my perspective, she actually really tries, because he does do some sweet things in the hot tub together, wearing the outfits that she brought for them to wear that says just married or wifey or something like that. They're doing all those cliche things, and they had gotten so well in the beginning that I think she was willing to let go of that a little bit. But to me, that's a red flag. I cannot stand it when someone tells me that they're okay when it's obvious that they're not. If I ask you what's wrong and you say that there's nothing wrong, that is a lie. You need to say, I don't know right now. I get I'm upset, but I don't know why. Or I'm upset, but I'm not ready to talk about it. So just give me some space. And I'm really sorry that I'm doing this to you, but it's a lot right now. I need someone who's able to communicate. There is no way that this is going to work, especially with the Western idea put on top of another type of way of getting married. It's already confusing. Let's help each other out by being as honest and transparent as we possibly can. He finally tells her over some drinks why he's mad. And he says, you just shoved that camera in my face, and I wasn't comfortable with you after that. And she's like, I don't understand why. And then he brings up the fact that she's always on social media, and that's not okay with him, that he doesn't like for his life to always be on social media. It really bothers him that she is someone who's always taking pics for the gram. I can't say that he's wrong for feeling that, because you're allowed to feel however you want to feel. I truly believe that. But what I will say is that it's a dumb reason to ruin this. At this point, it's a dumb reason. And if that's the case, then he needs to be very specific about how he feels about social media. He needs to say, look, I don't like it. I don't want to see you on it while I'm around. It makes me uncomfortable. It feels like you're just doing everything for show, and I want to know the real you. I had a bad experience once, blase, whatever, right? Communicate to this girl, because she's not doing it on purpose. It's part of the way she interacts, right? So before they leave, right, they squash that beef right then and there and decide that they're going to have a good time. But the day that they're leaving, something else happens. I cannot recall what the catalyst of it was, but Brandon gets very disrespectful to production, and Taylor doesn't like that at all. She's trying to get him to calm down, and he doesn't want to calm down. And then they get into the bus that's taking them to the airport, and he's getting all riled up again. And one of the cast members says, what's going on? And Taylor's like, I don't know what's going on. I tried to talk to him. And Brandon says to her, you ain't try to do shit, blah, 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 other cuss words and blah, blah, blah. And I knew from that point that it wasn't going to work for Taylor. Taylor walked into this situation saying that she didn't sign up for anyone to disrespect her. And I can imagine that if you're not used to that kind of verbal banter between you and your partner, that you're not going to take that from anybody. And the reason why I say that is because personally, if I say I tried to do something and you say you ain't try to do shit and you're supposed to be my husband, that's a breach. There are people who are okay with that kind of language and that kind of anger and sentiment being put towards them, but I am not, especially when I didn't do anything wrong. Don't talk to me like that. Absolutely not. Bring it down. This is not life or death situation. I'm not stealing your money. I'm not beating your child. So bring it down. You ain't gonna cuss in a sentence at me, towards me, by me, about something that I did. No. So they get back to the States, they move in together, and there's like this sour air, and Brandon ends up bringing her flowers to apologize. Dr. Cal is there. She's explaining to Dr. Cal what happened. Brandon comes in all smiles and dimples saying that he's sorry. And at this point, this is now red flag number 2 for Taylor. And she accepts his apology because she's like, okay, I'm in this to win this. I need this to work. But I don't think she accepts it to the point where she's just going to erase that out of her mind and now not hold it against him. I don't think anybody could. I sure couldn't. So after that, she sort of reverts and she gets back to her phone and her normal business, and she's kind of, maybe to him, standoffish, because Brandon ends up saying that the reason why he isn't communicating to her is because he feels negative energy from her, and if he feels negative energy from anyone, he isn't going to engage. And then that led me to believe, well, then how are you going to be in a marriage with somebody? People have negative energy sometimes. Outside things affect them and they're going to come in with attitudes. And if your reaction is to not talk to her and not communicate with your wife, then that's not going to work. How are things going to work when you have kids? Kids add such an extra layer of stress to any situation. If you can't get through it when it's just you and her, then what's going on? Also, he's not behaving like he is her loving husband, in my opinion. And perhaps she's not exhibiting behavior of a wife. And that is something that he has said throughout this process, that he wants his wife to behave like a wife. But what does that mean? I don't know what that means. He's never specific about it. He doesn't say, oh, she parties too much or she's constantly doing this. Or in fact, we don't know really like what's going on in their relationship, because on camera, they're both pretty charismatic. And Brandon is the one who can't hold his shit together, and Taylor can. But she's also very aware of how she's going to look on camera as well. One of the biggest controversies that happened this season is one evening after they had an argument, or perhaps they didn't even have an argument, but Taylor was feeling very frustrated. So she was on the phone with her friends and she goes downstairs to have a conversation with them. And the next thing he knows is there's a story on her Instagram where she's saying, why are my requirements for a partner so hard for me to get? Why can't I have a guy who's 6'3" and taller, a guy with a big penis, a guy that does this, does that? She's listing them on the story, right? She typed it out, which means that she heard herself say over and over again the things that she said. Meanwhile, her husband is upstairs. Now, in the beginning, I thought maybe she was playing the single role because she's filming, right? And this show isn't going to go live on TV for another couple months. So maybe she's allowing her audience to think that she's still single when in fact, in reality, she's not, because she's filming and they don't know she's filming. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's what I thought she was going to say. Like, babe, I have to pretend I'm single online right now because I'm filming a show and I can't let my audience know. But that's not what happens, She comes upstairs and he's so pissed and he doesn't say anything to her and he just like storms off and moves out of the apartment because he felt like that was such a breach of their relationship contract, of their marriage, that she completely disrespected him and hurt his feelings and then didn't even have the audacity or the gumption to apologize to him about it. And that's where I think she went wrong. She's like, I didn't say anything wrong. I was talking to my friends and I was venting and then I put this on social media. Like, what did I do? Did I hurt your feelings? And it was like, Taylor, girl, you know what you did. You basically told the entire world that the person that you're with right now ain't shit and doesn't meet your requirements, when your requirements are so stupid that I thought that it was a joke. Like, I also thought that the video was a joke because her requirements was so stupid, but she was so serious in it. She's like, I guess I'm going to be single forever then. And it's like, yeah, girl, if those are your requirements, absolutely you're going to be single forever. But Brandon felt disrespected. And I think, to me, he personally just used that as a reason to really blow up and go off the handles, because he doesn't like the fact that she's on social media. She literally has to take a picture of everything she eats and everything she does, which is annoying. I can agree with that. But then just have that conversation. Like, when my friends want to do all that and take 15 selfies to find the perfect one to put 3 filters on and then post it, I'm like, leave me out of that. I'll take 2 pics. That is it. Now you're on your own. You take your own pics. When she doubles down and doesn't apologize for what she did, even though she doesn't think she was wrong, girl, apologize anyway. He then has more fodder for his claim, you know? So he moves out. She still lives there. She's still, in her mind, participating in the process. But she has definitely contributed. She's definitely contributed to their problems in a massive way, and just refuses to acknowledge her role in it. And I think maybe it's because she's low-key been mad at him since Panama and hasn't been able to get over it. So they're living separate for a while. They're not talking. They have no communication for about a week. And then they go to have a mani-pedi together. And she's like, you know, I still don't understand why you're upset. And so he then doesn't want to tell her because they're both just trying to hold their ground. And I'm like, at some point, if you guys want to have a healthy relationship with anybody, you would just say how you feel. No harm, no foul. But they're both just being so like, whatever. And she's like, well, I want to be friends with you. And he's like, I don't want to be friends with you. And so she's like, okay. So it makes her look like she's the better person when they're both just being foul, because they both won't just say how they feel. So that's Taylor's huge controversy. And everyone's like, Team Taylor or Team Brandon? I'm team none of them. And in fact, I think that Brandon is worse than Taylor, because I feel like Taylor has clammed up because Brandon was being such a dick. Like, I get it. It's hard for a black man in these streets, and there's a certain image you have to like hold yourself as. And, you know, maybe he's like not used to being vulnerable, but not in this situation, not in this type of show. You must be vulnerable. You must, in order for this to last. I think they're both in their late 20s. Like, I think they're both 28 and 27. So they're definitely still in their like fuck boy, fuck girl, like realm, where they're still used to dealing with people who will say they're going to call you and don't call you back. You know what I'm saying? They're still used to dealing with people who aren't emotionally mature. So they're so used to like putting their walls up, and that they've both got their walls fully up, fully bricked, fully mortared, you know what I'm saying? And not willing to just express themselves. I honestly think that if they were 10 years older and a little bit more adult emotionally, they would probably be able to work this out. So they end up having a conversation with Pastor Cal and Dr. Viviana, where they want to know what would make them say yes in the next 2.5 weeks. And the both of them say that they don't know what that person can do to turn this around, but they are still willing to work on their issues. And so Pastor Cal tells Brandon that he should consider moving back in, and Brandon ends up moving back in, and they end up having a conversation where, to me, nothing really meaty or interesting happens, but they both decide they're going to work on bringing down their walls and discussing things and being open and honest with each other. And that's the best that they can hope. Personally, I don't think they're right for each other. I just don't like Brandon, girl. Like, I don't like the way he treated production. I don't like the fact that he got mad about the camera being in his face, like so angry to the point where he like felt betrayed. Like, you need to explain to me what your problems with cameras are. Like, because I'm somebody who will have their camera out, and I need to know if you're going to have a problem with that stat. Anyways, that's where we leave off with them. For like the first 6 or 7 or 8 episodes, Taylor's nails were not done. They were white with like, I mean, I was just like, girl, I'm gonna need you to get a mani, okay? Corona hasn't hit you yet. Or at this time when this was filmed, why are your nails so overgrown? Did anyone else peep that? Also, her wig was weird. or her leave out or whatever that was. Like, I don't mean to break Taylor down like that, but I think she's a beautiful girl who just hides behind like fake or something. I don't know. It's like she's just slightly not comfortable with herself. I just need her to take the contacts out and get you a wig that is doing a little less. She's beautiful. I wish them the best. So I'll keep you guys updated with what ends up happening with them later on in the season, okay? All right, you guys, let's have a kiki and a conversation down below. Let me know what you thought about Taylor and Brandon. Don't forget to thumbs this video up and subscribe to my channel. All right, remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye.